I'd love to be able to introduce Tiffany, who is going to be doing our keynote. I will let her talk all about herself and move on to what she'd like to do.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Kristen. So a little bit about me, and I'm going to tell you things not on the PDF today, is that one, Tiffany, just like all of you, simply committed to service, committed to our children, committed to our future. And this is an opportunity for all of us today, whether you're with us right now, or this will be in a recording that you do later, and view it later, view it many times, that I want you all to feel free to come back and just be re-engaged and reignited. And when things are great, when things are not going so great, and understand that we are all in this together. I do have a darling husband and two darling girls. We're a blended family, and I'm from a military family. So growing up, I knew what it was like to move around a lot and have to engage and meet new people all the time, how to use relationships. So it's kind of key that I get to do this now with all of you. So that's a little bit about me. Kristen, did you want me to go ahead and start? Okay, great. Oh, and in case I didn't say that, I am from North Carolina. We're having some crazy weather for us. I am not equipped for your winters. That's what I didn't know. So just let you know that. But I really want to just tell you that it's really wonderful to spend this time with you here at the North Dakota PTA Leadership Summit. Kudos to North Dakota PTA for organizing this event. You should be very proud. Today, I want to tell you a story. There was once an anthropologist who was studying in what is now South Africa. He had been working in the village for some time. So the day before he was about to go home, he decided to hold a contest for the local children to say thank you. He put together a prize basket filled with fruits and candies and placed it under a large tree. The man drew a line in the dirt near the schoolhouse and told the children, when I say go, run to the tree. Whoever gets to the tree first will win the basket. When he told them to run, the children took each other's hands and ran together to the tree. They sat together around the basket and enjoyed its contents as a group. The anthropologist was shocked. He asked them, why would you all go together? One of you could have won all of the fruits and candies for themselves. A young girl looked at him and said, how can one of us be happy when the rest of us are sad? Years later, Archbishop Desmond Tutu would explain the little girl's thought process by using the word Ubuntu. Roughly translated, Ubuntu means I am because we are. Tutu shared that in South Africa, Ubuntu is a belief that my humanity is caught up, bound up inseparably with yours. The solitary human being is a contradiction in terms. Therefore, everyone should seek to work for the common good because our shared humanity comes into its own in community and belonging. In short, a person is a person through other people. Ubuntu, I think, is a perfect way to describe why we all PTA. We all come from different backgrounds, hold different beliefs, want different things out of life. But we seek the common good of our PTA mission because we see in each other the same humanity. We see in each other the same love for our children. We see in each other the same need to belong. We are one PTA. Isn't that so powerful? To know that wherever you go in this country, East Coast, West Coast, North, South, Midwest, Southwest, Puerto Rico, the US Virgin Islands, or even the Department of Defense schools overseas, we are one tremendous voice that supports and fights for all our nation's children, so each child can reach beyond the stars with confidence in their academics and life. As PTA members, we are united with a common passion and a common purpose. We do it for our children. That's our mission, to make every child's potential a reality by engaging and empowering families and communities to advocate for all children. Those aren't empty words. Those words are an oath, a rallying cry, a legacy that tells the 125-year-long history of PTA. It all started with our founders, Alice Buchanan Burney, Phoebe Aberson Hurst, and Selena Sloan Butler. They laid a foundation of tenacity and resourcefulness, all for the mission that we advocate for today. As the largest volunteer child advocacy organization, we have used our collective voices to better the lives of children in America. PTA has been the conscience of our country and captured the ears of decision makers on every level to help make learning, school environments, and school resources what they need to be so our children can learn, grow, and reach their full potential in life. As we celebrate 125 years of our legacy and impact, I still think about what's next for our association because our work is not yet done and we can't do it alone. In June, we were so happy to meet for our first in-person convention in 3 years, right where our association began in Washington, D.C. It was really a great time to be together to discuss solutions to the key issues affecting our children and school communities. And we were honored to have members of our administration come and speak, including our First Lady, Dr. Jill Biden, Secretary of Education, Miguel Cardona, and the nation's Surgeon General, Dr. Vivek Murthy, all come and speak. And we went to Capitol Hill and advocated on 3 key issues. First and foremost, we continue to urge our legislators to adopt measures that ensure our children are protected from the harm of gun violence and support schools in their efforts to create safe and welcoming spaces for every child to enhance development, growth, and safety for all of our nation's students. Second, we ask Congress to act now to address the current youth mental health crisis. Students need timely and consistent access to coordinated, comprehensive, culturally competent, and effective mental and behavioral health services in the school setting. And finally, we called on Congress to reauthorize the federal food nutrition programs. Over 45 million students participate in federally funded school lunch and breakfast programs. For many of these students, breakfast and lunch provided at school may be their only source of nutrition for the day. And we certainly needed the support because none of us knew the devastation that COVID-19 would have on our country. And we've seen a spike in social justice issues across the country. The impact on our children is real. When you look at food insecurity, mental and social challenges, as well as access to technology, information, and other resources. PTA has had to pivot, which is what we do best, to meet the extraordinary needs of our children, their families, and school communities. Yet our mission is unchanged. We want our children to be able to thrive despite these challenges. And we need you to help rally our families, school administrators, and decision makers to partner with us as we remain focused on the health, safety, and well-being of every child in America. So I encourage all of you as parents and leaders to be steadfast in our shared mission work and flexible in your approach. Let's not lose sight of why you joined PTA and how our impact extends beyond our own children, their schoolmates, and even our state. As Helen Keller once said, alone, we can do so little. Together, we can accomplish so much. That is true because where there is unity, there is strength. Now, here are 3 ways to be intentional in your service to your students, families, and school communities. First, we must do a better job inviting more people into our PTA family. This is much more than increasing our membership numbers. It's ensuring that diversity, equity, and inclusion are part of everything we do at PTA, which includes offering activities that are meaningful to our children and families, building partnerships with community leaders, and welcoming every family. When we do this, people will see the value in joining our wonderful association. We encourage you to use the vast library of customizable materials from our membership marketing campaign. You can find them at pta.org/membership. Second, we must commit to being good listeners. Once we welcome people in, we must listen to their concerns. If ever there were a time when we need to listen to understand, it is now. We need to silence our internal opinions long enough to understand others. Listen so we don't label people based on our own worldview or expect them to fall in line with our preconceived notions of how to address the concerns they face. Instead, really listen to their concerns while trying to find commonality where there is overlap in your community and within yourself. When we have listened well, we will not only be better informed, more well-rounded individuals and leaders, but our PTAs will be nimbler and more responsive to the pressing needs in our communities. Stepping outside of our comfort zone is how we grow individually and collectively. Finally, after you have listened, use your powerful PTA voice. Now, it's tempting when times are tough to keep your head down and try not to rock the boat, but I urge you to lean into discomfort. Speak up when you see injustice. Our children need you to be true leaders. Don't be afraid to have tough conversations and seek resolution where there is discord, because when you're willing to tackle the hard topics with compassion, incredible things happen. Remember that your grassroots perspective is extremely valuable, even essential to elected officials and school leaders alike. They need to not only hear the loudest voices in the community, but to understand every family they serve have different needs. And collaborating with parents is essential to building a successful future for all children. These three pillars will allow us to create more supportive school communities. We know that every student, regardless of their race, religion, ethnicity, national origin, sexual orientation, gender identity, ability, or socioeconomic status, can reach their full potential when the school environment is one in which they truly feel valued because of their identity, not in spite of it. By the way, adults also function best in environments where they feel valued too. Look for ways to support our educators when you can. These are trying times for them, with no easy answers as they attempt to meet the needs of sometimes polarized voices. Do not underestimate your own power. I repeat, do not underestimate yourself. As PTA members, we are the champions for public education because we know that these children in our public schools today, are today's and tomorrow's leaders. That is why we encourage the implementation of diverse and inclusive curricula in K-12 public schools nationwide. Why? Because all children need to see themselves reflected in our history. By having open and responsive teaching, learning, and curricula, it will help build socially and emotionally competent children and youth. One thing this pandemic has taught us is that our children need us now more than ever to be the loud and proud voice in our communities. We have witnessed our PTAs across the country going to incredible lengths to support our students. We cannot slow down now. Our schools and communities need us to be the healers, the rebuilders, the community organizers. We owe it to our founders and our children. People often ask me, how do you PTA? For me, it's simple. It's about our children, my own and every child in this country. I bet if we went around this room and asked each of you the same question, you'd all have a similar answer. We do our PTA work because we've held sticky toddler hands. We love gap tooth grins, and we have watched with pride as teenagers blossom on their way to independence. We have wanted to give each one of them the whole world. And just as we watch each of those children learn and grow, they also watch us and learn from us as we tackle these and other critical issues. We must remember to see our own humanity in one another. We may not agree on every issue, but we must always agree on doing what's best for our children. Every decision we make must be for their benefit. My PTA family, there are no easy answers to the questions and obstacles that you are dealing with now and will deal with in the future. But we are proud to say that PTA was founded to create the connections that enable us to overcome any challenge. As a servant leader, be bold, be intentional. Most importantly, be the best child advocate you can be. Harriet Tubman said, "Every great dream begins with a dreamer." Always remember you have within you the strength, the patience, and the passion to reach for the stars to change the world. Our children are dependent on us to change the world for them. And please know that you are never alone in this fight. Ubuntu. I am because we are one PTA, national, state, and local PTA together. We are ready to help you with training, resources, and grant fundings available on our website, pta.org. Any small action you take this school year will be pivotal for the future of our communities. And we know we can count on you to do your very best. You are already doing this work in your schools and communities. So thank you. Thank you for your continued commitment and passion for serving our families, teachers, and most importantly, our children. We couldn't do this without each of you. Thank you. Know that you are appreciated. Kristen.
Great. Thanks, Tiffany. I had to find my unmute button so we weren't getting any background. I really appreciate your words, and it's really strong encouragement, and I love the fact that you're here to talk to us about it. Does anybody have any questions for Tiffany? So Tiffany, I don't know if I heard, how long have you been involved in PTA?
I've been involved in PTA for 8 years, but it seems like a lifetime. But I've been an advocate, lifting her voice my entire 42 years.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions for Tiffany? Well, yes, Cheryl.
I was just going to say, what would be what's the best advice you could give our local units today? If it was just one thing you could share with them, what would that be?
To know that their voice has value. One common thing that I've seen, and speaking as someone who was a former council president of about 44 to 47, because we had some turnover districts, your voice matters and is important. Everyone has an opportunity. And in this work that we do for children that we love, for families we adore, and in building inclusive community, what I have seen is that everyone is not aware that they have, one, that they have a voice, two, that it is valued, three, that they feel that they have a safe place to let their voice be heard. That is the key thing for our local units to understand. You have a voice, it matters. You're welcome. This is a safe place for you. PTA is for all of us. And it's regardless of your background. And our differences are what make us unique. And that ties back into what commonality is. But yes, having a voice. I will tell you, a long time ago, I didn't think I had a voice either. And it turned out to be quite loud. And just for everyone else out there, there's a voice in you that you can just lift up and just continue to be encouraged. I would also tell them, if there was a second thing I would tell them, is to be innovative. Think outside the box. There's more than one way to do anything. And when we're thinking about, think about PTA outside of the borders of the schoolhouse. How do we engage and truly unify us all outside in the community? Those are really just the big two things that I would honestly share with any local unit across the nation. You have a voice, you have value, be innovative. I mean, we tell our children that the world is their oyster, right? The same applies to us.
Thank you.
That was a great answer, Tiffany. Thank you for sharing.
This is Janae. I do have a question. So I loved your first, I was furiously typing notes as you were talking. So thank you. It's so many good things to say. Your first way to be intentional is doing a better job inviting more different people into our PTA. Do you have any, I know this is a huge, huge topic, but just any simple or any just brief, really great advice or things that you've learned to help get that inclusion of different people into our PTA family? I said, I know that's a big one.
No, I want you to do me a favor, Janae, because I want you to repeat your question one more time, because I want to make sure I hit on all of the components.
Yes. So how, in your opinion, over your experience, what has worked for you to engage different communities, different groups? PTAs, what I've seen, tend to be pretty homogenous, and it's hard to get people to come that are different than what the group has been. And so any advice to attract others and be more inclusive for others?
Absolutely. So I'll share a little personal story if I can, if that's okay, Kristen. That's okay?
Mhm.
Okay. So recently, I have a 14-year-old who's in the 8th grade. And a couple of weeks ago, there was a PTA election. They were holding it to make sure they start off with their board. And the first thing in my local community, and I will tell you, in the district that I live in, we have about 34,000 students and families, 34,000 students. And I will tell you that in our community, 80% of them are Black and brown children. We have a high Latinx population. And so where I tend to talk to people is from the standpoint of simply a value that they are included. So what I will tell you is that a couple of weeks ago, I go to this meeting and I got put on the spot. I did. And they were like, well, tell us, tell the people what you do and why you care so much about PTA. So I talked about the things that we did. And I acknowledged the fact that traditionally, historically in our area and growing up, that the people who were in PTA at the time did not look like me, but that was in case a falsehood that we weren't welcome, that we weren't able to be a part. That was just the understanding that was had back then. My mom was a single parent growing up, and she just didn't feel invited. So step one is just inviting and bridging the gap, understanding that we never have to know someone else's story, but their story is still valuable and important, and their voice does need to be brought back to the table. And so when I was talking to them, and I was like, and we're not here to fundraise. This is more than just that. This is about, now list some of the key things, in one school in the district, again, of about 53 schools total, 34,000 students. No one knew that 10 women from our district had gone to advocate for all students in North Carolina at our most recent in-person legislative conference this year. And I spoke to that because when we don't tell people what we do and why we do it, they won't understand and they won't see value. But we're saying, hey, it's okay. And you don't have to have that time to go talk to a legislator if you don't want to. But that if you stand, join the membership, stand in solidarity with the purpose that we have with this mission, that we're going to be every child, one voice, keep the tagline, keep it simple, speak to the things that they've done over in your local communities. What key things, this is what PTA has done in our school over the last few years. This is how we've supported our families. This is how we've supported our administration. This is how we collaborate with our teachers. Let them know because they do not know. Next, make sure that we're talking to them with respect. And again, when I'm addressing these people, there's about 125 people in this auditorium at the time. And again, 9 times out of 10, they're not asked. So simply ask. And I said, join us. And this is why, because your voice, it helps supports not only your student, but the one next to the student next to your child. It's a chain reaction. Apparently my words might have been impactful because apparently 33 people joined the PTA that night. And it's simply just sharing the stories. And I also let them know that I, as an individual, I do put my money where my mouth is. I don't just talk the talk, I walk it. I'm not seeing a lot on many things, but that's because I'm actually out doing advocacy work within my my district and throughout the state and in various ways. And it's okay to tell people the why. The why is simply because I care about them. I care about their children. And I want their children to have an equitable foundation to ensure that because they're our future in 20, 30 years from now, I'm going to need them to be my doctor, my lawyer, my actuary. Things happen. But if they don't get that opportunity to learn now, then they won't be able to be there for us in the future. So if I made that really super short for you, Janae, it is just speak to them, ask them. I'll have you all know, no one ever invited me to join PTA. And that's funny when you think about it. No one ever asked me to join the PTA. I honestly was voluntold at a meeting that I didn't know about. I didn't know my school had a PTA. A woman from my job, we worked at the State Department. Hey, so I went to the PTA meeting last night and I put your name down. You'll be the auditor. I was like, oh, she's detail oriented. She'll do it. And I did. And it just grew from there. So I don't know if that helps, but Janae, that is what I do.
Thank you, Tiffany. It does, and I appreciate it.
Great. What a great answer, Tiffany. Thank you.